Jungkook smiled brightly, hearing the news. His eyes got teary when he heard his newborn baby crying voice. Doctor said and handed him his daughter carefully. A tear rolled down as Jungkook held her in his arms. She was tiny and looked so beautiful in his hands. She had dark brown hair just like him, his own, but her eyes were just like her mother, which made him chuckle as they both used to fight over this. He whispered softly to his baby, kissing her soft skin before handing her back to the doctor. Jungkook smiled, he felt like crying. He asked with hopeful eyes and doctor nodded, smiling kindly at him before gesturing for Jungkook to follow him. Wayne was sleeping peacefully after giving Jungkook the best gift of his life. He smiled as the doctor nodded his head and headed out of the room, leaving Jungkook and Wyan alone. Jungkook went closer to her and sat beside her. He brushed his finger on her face lovingly, making her wake up. Jungkook looked at her with adoration. Her eyes faltered open slowly, met Jungkook's bright one. She gave him a wide smile and placed her hand over his. Jungkook leaned forward and kissed her softly. When they broke apart, they looked into each other's eyes with pure happiness. He told her, his deep voice sounding calm even though he felt the tear was burning behind his eyes. Jungkook wanted to give her everything she deserved. He wanted to spoil her rotten. He wanted to make her life better than it already was. He wanted to be there for her no matter what happened. She whispered back, stroking his cheek lovingly. Wyan cupped Jungkook's cheek, her thumb brushing away any stray tear that might fall from Jungkook's cheeks. Wyan was sitting on the bed along with her few days old daughter, who was playing with her father's shirt, causing Wyan to smile. Wyan chuckled at her own words and shook her head. She said with a fake heart attack. She got up and picked up the folded clothes to put them into the closet. Vine sighed as she put clothes into their place, and her smile dropped as her eyes landed on her favorite collection of dresses, which she used to wear for Jungkook before getting pregnant. She pouted sadly, looking at herself in the mirror, totally disappointed by her body after giving birth. Her stomach looked bigger, and those marks on her body made her feel disgusting. Vian couldn't help but frown in a shame, and she looked back at her daughter who was still playing happily with Jungkook's chat. It made her want to cry again. Vian wiped her tears and forced herself to smile. She said hopefully, but somewhere she wasn't sure about it. She asked herself, her eyes welling up with tears again. Jungkook said with a small chuckle, he walked towards her and placed his hand on her shoulder and squeezed lightly, trying his best to comfort her. Jungkook interrupted her worriedly, rubbing circle on her back gently. He said softly to her, Jungkook confessed to her in a gentle whisper. Wyan sniffed and took a deep breath, trying hard to keep her composure. She looked her husband lovingly and bit her lower lip. Jungkook hugged his wife tightly and pressed his face to her shoulder and inhaled her calming scent. This woman was everything to Jungkook. He didn't mind how she looked, nor he cared what she looked like. He only thought is that she was his, and that's all that mattered to him. He whispered against her neck. Jungkook pulled away from the hug and looked at her with tenderness. He replied, pulling his wife in another tight embrace. After a few months, 5 months older daughter giggled at her father. Ryan scolded him playfully. She wore a short red dress with white heels and light makeup. Jungkook could never take his eye off hers. His heart swelled every time he caught the sight of her, and she never noticed it because she was so preoccupied with something else. He whined, putting his hand on his chest in an exaggerated pose. Vine rolled her eyes but secretly laughed. Jungkook knew exactly how to make her laugh. She reminded Jungkook. He pouted and looked at his daughter. He complained, pouting some more. So laughed and Vian wrapped her arms around his neck. She leaned forward and placed a small kiss on his lip, making him blush profusely. He groaned prayerfully, making Saul giggle once more. She complimented, running her hands through Jungkook's hair. Jungkook smiled and kissed her deeply, making Saul cry. Yes, she got jealous whenever her father kissed her mother. Vian groaned, looking at Jungkook. Jungkook winked at her and picked his daughter in his arms. Vian folded her arms against her chest and looked at him in disbelief. She teased teasingly. Jungkook rolled his eyes playfully. He loved this playful side of his wife. He said dramatically, walking away with Saul in his arm. Vian rolled her eyes and followed him. Vian hugged her mother with a small smile and bowed at Jungkook's mother. Mrs. June said disapprovingly, making Jungkook roll his eyes. Vian smiled at her and nodded her head. Jungkook said proudly. Vian looked at him lovingly. No matter what, Jungkook was always supportive toward her. When she was losing weight, he took good care of their daughter and gave Vian so much strength. It really touched her heart how much her husband cared for her and their child. Jungkook's parent and sister watched them interact with a soft smile as well. Jungkook asked as he handed Vian a glass of wine. Vian replied and looked at him. He assured her, taking her hand in his. She smiled and pulled him closer to her. Jungkook wrapped his arm around her waist and rested his chin on her shoulder, smiling. She looked into his eyes and caressed his cheeks lovingly. Jungkook leaned close to her and placed his lip on hers.